Hello friends, welcome to Insights Again Initiative. In today's video, we are going to discuss about property rights in Hindu religion. Okay, this particular topic is related about children who born out of the void marriage or voidable marriage. Don't worry, I will explain what is the meaning of void marriage and voidable marriage. So before we discuss further details, first we will finish off the syllabus mapping. In terms of syllabus mapping, this particular issue related to not only current affairs, even it is also related to Gender Studies Paper 1, that is society. Then, in terms of the video components, in this video we are going to discuss about why this particular topic is in news. That means the Supreme Court judgment on the inheritance. Why now? Then we will discuss about void marriage and voidable marriage. Then, what are the different schools of Hindu law? What is the background of this particular case? And the Hindu Marriage Act 1955 and various Supreme Court rulings on the daughters' rights regarding the property rights. So we are going to cover all these things in this particular video. First, let us see the context, why it is in news. Supreme Court here clearly ruled that children who born, whether in the void marriage or voidable marriage, they can get the property rights. They can get their parents, whatever the parents they're supposed to get, their parent share in the joint family, this joint Hindu family. Okay, they'll get their parent share in the joint Hindu family according to Mithakshara law. And these children, they will not be entitled to the rights of property rights of others in the family. So here first you have to know certain basics. First let me explain joint Hindu family. Okay, joint Hindu family. Joint Hindu family concepts. Here I will explain few, like basics. Imagine, like grandfather, and he was having two sons, okay, two sons, and one son is having the grandson, one. Imagine this is a family tree. Here, all this combined together known as Hindu family, joint Hindu family, popularly known as JHF, joint Hindu family. In joint Hindu family, whoever the eldest one and whoever managing the property, they are known as, like Karta. What they call? They are known as Karta. Next, when property coming from grandfather to father, father to son, this linear from generational shift of the property, this is known as inheritance. Inheritance, very, very important. Property transfer from one generation to another generation is inheritance, and changing the property ownership. For example, this first son is selling his property to second son. Okay, the selling of property not through generational but within generation, or changing the ownership of the property, that is known as succession. Okay, succession. Succession is changing the ownership of the property. Whereas inheritance means changing the property rights from generation to generation. These basics you have to understand. Next, Hindu family law property, they are governed by two laws mainly. Hindu property succession. Hindu property succession. Property succession. It follows two laws. Okay, Mithakshara law and Diabhaga law. These are the two things. Generally, this Diabhaga law follows in the Bengal and Assam region. In the rest of the India, Mithakshara will be followed. That means majority of the people follows Mithakshara law. Majority of the people follows Mithakshara law. That you have to understand. Now tell me, students. So these personal matters generally differ from one religion to another religion, but which article of the Indian Constitution is saying that there must be uniform laws, both personal as well as public? Which article is saying that there must be uniform laws in terms of personal as well as public? Now, you know the meaning of joint Hindu family, inheritance, succession, Mithakshara, Diabhaga, and property succession. So these are the basics very frequently appears. And one more thing here, in this entire Hindu family, grandfather, sons and grandson, even later, of course, later even daughters were also added. So whoever the people have the right on the property, all these rightful holders on the property, they are known as co-parcenaries. Co-parceners. Co-parceners. Co-parcener means legally, so they are rightfully, they are eligible to get the property share. They are known as co-parceners. This is also one of the term very frequently come here. Okay. Now we'll see the notes, and if we get any new words, we'll come back to this again. So I'll try to explain that new words. But with this explanation first, you can easily understand. And one more thing here, very frequently we will get here, marriages are like void marriage. Void marriage means, for example, this marriage is like illegally or not valid from the beginning itself. For example, bigamy in Hindu religion. Bigamy in Hindu religion. Okay, this is a void Hindu religion. From the beginning itself, it is invalid. Whereas voidable marriage, this can be invalidated by any of the party in the marriage, either by the wife or husband. They can make this marriage invalid. Best example, impotency. Okay, impotency, or marriage through force or fraud. These are the voidable marriage. And the other category is valid marriage. Marriage which performed according to the Hindu Marriage Act. These are the various types. Now this quote is talking about children who born out of the void marriage and voidable marriage. Okay, children born out of this void as well as voidable marriage. These children, they can have the property rights. Of whom? Their parents. Property rights on their parent share. Whatever their parents supposed to get, they will get their share in their parents along with the other children. Okay, along with the other children, because court always says that there may be illegitimate relations, but there is no illegitimate children. Okay, because according to the changing circumstances, even though marriage may be invalid, but the child born out of that, the child cannot be invalid. So still, children born out of this kind of relationship, they can claim the rights over their parents. Whatever the parents, they'll get their rights in the joint Hindu family. On that property, they can get their share as well. So this you have to understand here. Okay. Now let's see. That is what court was also saying about. And of course, they cannot claim the property rights on the other share. Now, voidable marriage, like I said earlier, initially void, but it can invalidated by court agreements. Next, void marriage. From the beginning itself, these marriages are void. Mithakshara Law School, Diabhaga Law School. I told you, Diabhaga Law School, generally it appears in, it's applicable in West Bengal as well as the Assam. Rest of the area, Mithakshara School. According to Mithakshara School, a son by default, he'll get the rights in property. Of course, nowadays, after the amendment to the Hindu Succession Act, now even daughter is also eligible to get the rights on parents' property. Co-parcenary rights, I explained already. Diabhaga School, mainly applicable in the Bengal and Assam. Here, son will not get automatic property rights. Here, one more thing you have to understand, students. A person can have two types of property. A person can have two types of property. One is inherited property. The other property is self-acquired property. Okay, self-acquired property. A person can use his self-acquired property in whichever the way he like. He can write a will also. Whereas the inherited property will be inherited to the next generation. But a person can, these two properties, a person can dispose this property either through will, and a person died without any will, that is known as intestate. Okay, intestate. A person died without any will. Okay, if he writes will, then the property goes according to the will. Without will, intestate property. Okay. background. In this particular case, that is Revana Siddhappa versus Mallikarjuna judgment. In this case, Supreme Court clearly mentioned that children from void and voidable marriage, they can get the equal same like valid marriage. They can get property share both in the self-acquired property as well as the ancestral property of their parents. Okay, whatever the property their parents have, it may be the inherited property, it may be the self-acquired property. In these two type of property, the children born out of the void or voidable marriage, they can get the share. And of course, later the different benches of the Supreme Court also supported the same argument. Even the children about the void and voidable marriage and their property rights, even that was mentioned in the Section 16, Clause 3 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955. It was also saying that children out of the voidable and void marriage, they can still claim the property rights. Supreme Court. What Supreme Court mentioned? Supreme Court first mentioned that whoever these children first estimate their parents' property in the joint Hindu family, estimate the parents' property value. Out of that, these children, they get their share along with the other children. Even the Hindu Marriage Act, Section 16, is also saying that children who are born out of the void and voidable marriage, they still valid. And even children who were born out of the live-in relationship also, they are also valid. They can get the property rights also. Next, even the Hindu Succession Act, it was amended in 2005. It amended that a deceased person, if a person died without any will, that is known as interstate property. Like I said earlier, it can be inherited not in terms of succession. That means, like I said earlier, if a person died without any will, the property will be inherited. We don't use the word succession. Next, in the similar cases also, Supreme Court about the live-in relations, I told you, and the Supreme Court in the various judgment that these children who born out of the void marriage, they cannot claim the ancestral co-personary properties, but only self-acquired property. Initially, court given the judgment that children who are born out of the voidable marriage, they can claim only the self-acquired property, not the ancestral property, not the inherited property. Now, court clearly mentioned that the children who born out of the void or voidable marriage, okay, they can get the share not only in the self-acquired property of their parents, even the inherited property of their parents. Okay. Same Arunachal Gaundiar versus Ponnuswamy, that is what I told you. Now, Vinesh Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma. Here also in 2020, it is clearly mentioned that along with the son, even the daughter also will get equal rights in the parents' property. So now, of course, after the amendment of this Hindu Succession Act, even the daughters also now, they are getting the equal right in the parents' property. Hindu Marriage Act 1955. Here the definition Hindu, even when you refer the Article 25, Hindu Marriage Act means obviously it applicable to Hindus, Jains, Buddhists and Sikhs, except Muslims, Christians and Parsis and Jews. Okay, except these four people, rest of all the people, this Hindu Marriage Act is applicable. It consists of 29 sections. Some of the important sections in the Hindu Marriage Act, they are the restitution of conjugal rights, section 9. That means this one of the partner, wife or husband, they can go to the court and they can ask the court order that, okay, call the wife or husband to come for the, marriage relations. That means conjugal rights can be restored. Court can order either the male or female, okay, to stay with or have the relation with the other partner, have the conjugal relations. If still the other partner is not interested, then they can apply for the separation. Section 13, grounds for divorce. Section 16, legitimacy of children. What about the legitimacy of children who born out of the illegal relationship? Section 24, maintenance and alimony. So regarding the maintenance and alimony, Shabano case was very popular, students. You might have known that. Now we'll see the yesterday's video question. The term Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, often appears in news in the context of the affairs of a group of which group? ASEAN group. Okay, next. Okay, today's video question. Who among the following is eligible to adopt a son under Hindu law? Under Hindu law, who can adopt? Next, discuss the significance of latest Supreme Court judgment related to the Hindu Marriage Act. What are the latest Supreme Court judgment in relation to Hindu Marriage Act? This is the main question. As we reach to the end of this video, so just we'll do the quick recap. In this video, we discussed about what is the meaning of joint Hindu family and inheritance, succession, co-parcenaries, meaning self-acquired property and inherited property. Then we discussed about, like Diabhaga school, Mithakshara school, will and intestate property. Then we discussed about void marriage, voidable marriage, and what is the meaning of karta. Okay, all these details we discussed. So this is the detailed analysis regarding the property rights of the children who born out of void or voidable marriage.